I was thinking about perfection, and I started thinking about how when you're playing the guitar and you are tuning your strings, and there's like a right tunement, right? So you can accidentally go past it, you can go just below it, and if it's not in tune, it's not in tune. And there's really no in between. And I was thinking about alignment and how that relates to perfection. And I don't know if you know how to tune a guitar, but I'm assuming like if we can relate it to like mechanics, or relate it to putting oil in your car. I had to put oil in my car when I was in college, like every week, I think. Well, every time I filled up for gas, I would pop my hood and fill up my oil. And I got to the point where I just knew what it felt like, how much I stopped using my dipstick after a while, but I'm not giving that advice at all. I was in college, so don't judge me. But I'm assuming that if you're going to change your oil on your car or something, that there is you can't go above, and you can't get too full, or you can't be too less not enough, I should say, because then the cylinders in your car wouldn't get what they need or something. I don't know. Anyway, that was my best jab at that. But being in the creative field for 20 years, I learned a lot. And in the beginning, there was a lot of like striving for perfection. And I learned a lot through that process, because you are constantly like reflecting. So you do something, you reflect. How can this be better? How can this be better? What can I do? And you ask yourself 1,000 questions, and you try to look at it from every single angle. And I feel like all those things are very healthy. And I highly suggest that you do that in your personal and your professional life. Is wait a second. I had a situation. What do I do to learn from it? How do I refine this? Because refinement is super important in your life. I feel like we should always be at a state of refinement, both personally and professionally. I would often, use coworkers and I should use the word use, but as a reflection, like, okay, I spent 18 hours working on this logo and I've considered like what the client wants to say, what their message needs to be, and then you put it in front of sharks and they devour it. And what is funny about perfection is it's relative, and in your mindset, you kind of have to separate that, because what's perfect in one person's eyes is not in the other. So if you're constantly striving for perfection, or, in some industries like people pleasing, you're just never going to make it, because it's relative. And it's up to the other person to decide how they feel about it, especially when it's art. So in the professional field and art type of field, I learn to take criticism, and that is important, because really they're not really criticizing. Well, they could be. But what you do with that once it's back in your plate is you have to either build confidence in what you've done and be like, no, this is this is actually stating, this is actually portraying what I needed to portray. Or two, you take that, and as long as you can take the information, work it out in yourself, and then figure out what it is that I believe about this piece, or what is it that I believe about this situation. And you find confidence in yourself because you either or humility. And that is like a very good, very healthy character development, is if you can take it, work it out, have the confidence in deciding to go one way, if that's really what you decide, or have the humility to shift and be like, you know what? I actually think that this is better, and I'm going to now adapt or change to go that direction. But I was thinking about the guitar a lot, and how alignment is so important, because alignment trumps being perfect, okay? And when you're in alignment, things will flow naturally. And you need to be in alignment with yourself. And what I mean by that is mostly knowing who you are and knowing you're in the right lane, so that when influences come in, positive or negative, that you can adapt and change or hold steady to what you really believe. And I don't know, I think it took me a long time to learn perfection over alignment. And I hope this helps someone, because I was so hard on myself. And through that, I don't regret it, but through that, I did learn just how to dig and how to really become. But then I had to unlearn to step back just a little bit, like if you overtune your guitar, in order to flow and actually sound good and it be right, because we can get wound up too tight, and we can miss life if we wait for perfection. I think perfection keeps people from doing something that would bring a lot of joy to their life, or well, I can't do it as good, comparison. So I'm not going to be that perfect, so I'm not going to do it. And really, the world just needs more of you being in alignment of who you are, in order to create just a beautiful life for you and for other people around you, because other people need your unperfected self, and you bring a lot, especially when you can stay raw and vulnerable, because vulnerable is not a weakness. It can be a weakness in the hands of the wrong person. So you have to be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. But it is very important to be able to take in but not absorb, and absorb what you know in your heart to be true, and then readjust and refine. So I hope this helps, but it's just something on my mind. And honestly, since there's not another adult in my house, and maybe God has it this way, that I feel like I need to share And I told myself I was going to do this in like 3 minutes. But this is probably just going to go on YouTube because it's too long for social media, or at least that's what they say. Have a good Sunday.